Hey, hello everybody. Here we are again. It's Thursday, so it's Think Differently Thursday. And today my guest is Mike Walsh. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Helen. Are you
How
all
are
right?
you? Yes, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
How are you managing the change in the weather? And it's not so sunny. Are you you like the sunny type of person, or?
I do like the sun, but I must admit, I do like it when the seasons change and it's like, oh, we can sort of get indoors and sort of put the, fire on. Not that I've got a fire, but do you know what I mean? It's like
Yes, that
you wrap
cozy
up
kind
and
of. Yeah,
yeah, so I
yeah.
quite like it. And then I'll get fed up of it in about February and then I want the sun
Yeah,
to come. But
yeah. The big question I want to know about everybody right now is, have you put your heating on?
so yes, we have, to our shame. I know it's September.
You
I
do know it's
normally
not
try to
October yet.
I know. Well, I normally try to push it to October because at work there's like the October rule, and
Right.
Claire has been in teaching and stuff, so it's normally like wait till half term, but
Yep.
we've got nowhere near half term this year. So it came on last week very briefly, and then a bit
Right.
more the last couple of days. So yeah, I'm
Ah,
afraid to say we have.
I've been the same. It's just like I've dropped all my normal principles and it's gone on, and even got left on overnight one night. So I woke up and the
Oh.
house was just warm. So lovely.
Such a treat.
Yeah. Um, so thank you for chatting to me today. Really, really grateful.
You're welcome.
I know a little bit about you, but I don't know loads. Are you a local person, Mike? Are you like a Suffolk person, born and bred, or are you an
Uh,
infiltrator?
Oh, kind of. Well, I am born and pretty much bred here. So I was
Okay.
born in Ipswich. I was living in Stowmarket since I was a baby.
Okay.
But for about 5 years, when I was about 7 or something like that, my family moved down to Bristol because of my dad's
Ah,
work. And so we
okay.
lived in Bristol for 5 years and then moved back to Stowmarket when I was about
Right.
12 or something like that. And ever since
Okay.
been in Stowmarket. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
so I am pretty much local, yeah.
I think you're a Suffolk boy
Yeah.
then.
And you? Are
Um,
you
Um,
local?
well, our family aren't. So my parents were from Essex, so we moved to Suffolk again with my dad's work when I was a young child. So
Mm.
yeah, although we have no family here, so other than my kids and my mum, I've got no other family here. But I think having been here like so many years, I think I can say
Don't
I'm
get into
kind of like no,
that.
no.
Ben will be on it again.
Yeah. um yeah, I think I actually feel like I belong in Suffolk now. I think,
Eventually, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I grew up, and all my friends in the village where I grew up, they'd all got their family all around them. Like Nanny
Yeah.
was at the end of the road, and they would see their cousins and aunts and uncles, and yeah, we didn't have any of that growing up. And even now, yeah, my family's spread all around the country. So
Yeah.
but yeah, Suffolk is home,
Oh.
definitely. So tell us a bit about your family.
So yeah, I'm married. I've been married to Claire for 19 years. We married sort of straight out of university.
Did
We'd
you meet
been
there?
no, we started going out when we were 15 at high school. So and then
Oh,
we went off
cute
to
story.
university and went to different universities. And then when we finished university, we got engaged and then got married the year after. So yeah, so that's 19 years this year, and then we've got two daughters, Izzy, who's 14, and Mia, who is 11. And we've got a dog, Dexter. If anybody's watched any of the Forge Isolation challenges or seen me on Instagram or anything, normally there's a picture of Dexter around somewhere. So yeah, he's 3, and
So is
yeah,
Dexter a bit of male solidarity within the girls' kind of dominated
It,
home?
it, it definitely was. It definitely was. But what happened was that I just ended up being even further down the pecking order because
Ah, he came
Dexter
above
took
you.
over me. So
Right.
it's like, yeah. So I just, yeah. But I'm used to being surrounded by. This is going to sound really wrong. Surrounded by women because because I've got 3 sisters, 3 older sisters.
Oh,
So as a child, I was obviously surrounded by females, with
wow.
mum and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm used to putting up with life as a solitary male.
And what's that been like over this last 6 months, which is been a different time for everybody. So what's that been like for your family, living with the girls more so than normal if you're not getting out to work so much? Or are you going out to work now, or are you still home based?
So I'm pretty much working from home. I've worked from
Okay.
home throughout. I've been lucky to carry on working. I've worked throughout from this office. I spend every day pretty much in this office on Zoom calls or whatever.
Wow.
But in the last couple of months, probably since July or so, I only work at PPG, so I can go to site and pop down there for various reasons. So, but yeah, in terms of us, I suppose we've not had it probably so significantly different, probably to a lot of people. We've had to homeschool the girls, or I say we, Claire, and the girls have been good about getting it on for themselves. And Claire's been working. She works. She was a teacher for 18 years, and this year, or last September, decided to go into being a teaching assistant.
Okay.
So she carried on working throughout. And so that's been pretty cool. We've just enjoyed the sort of slower pace of life. And, you know, I guess our biggest thing was that both our mums are widowers. So, and Claire's dad only passed away like a year ago. So at the start of lockdown, that was just like 6 months of her mum being alone. And so that was quite a tough period for her. But we're through it, and it's all good. And
Great.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Great. So you said you work at PPG, which I can't help but like, that's ICI, isn't it?
Yeah,
You mean ICI? You're talking about like the Dulux dog and stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so it's a bit weird because there's actually, when ICI owned it, there's 2 factories down there.
This is in
one
Stowmarket,
producing the Dulux and one producing stuff for basically car repair. And so I work on the bit that produces paint for car repair. But yeah, it's basically, everybody still calls it ICI.
ICI.
So yeah, I've worked there for 20 years. So
Wow.
I've 20 years this week.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so I joined out of university. I'd never intended to stay more than 6 months. I used to laugh at these people who'd been there for 20, 25 years and thought I'd never do that. And I've just stayed there. I've had different opportunities, and it's been a really good time in those 20 years. Yeah.
So what has your role changed there? What are you actually doing now? Is it something that's kind of evolved from other jobs there?
Yeah, so I've done, I don't know if I've just done lots of jobs because I've been trying to find something that I'm good at, or another reason, I don't know, but I've done a number of different roles down there working through sort of the organisation, generally on the manufacturing or supply chain side, but also on the commercial bit. So at the moment, I'm the marketing manager for the UK and Ireland for PPG. Prior to that, for a couple of years, I was the what in ICI language would be called the works manager, but was a site manager for a couple of years prior to my current role. So that was interesting. But yeah, I've done lots of different roles there, and yeah, I've just basically, I guess I keep saying yes to opportunities. So
sounds great.
Led me to different things.
Great. And Mike, I know that you're a Christian, and you know, I think it's part of our language that our faith isn't a Sunday thing. It's not a church thing that we just do once a week, but it's something that kind of permeates sort of our life. So for you, how does faith work out with work? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, a great question. I think from an outward approach, if you like, I think you know, I'm quite open about my beliefs and being a Christian. You know, people would know that I go to church. I suppose I try and live some of that out, you know, in the way that I approach people, in the way that I you know, I've got the privilege of, and for the last however many years, 10, 12 years, I've had the privilege of managing teams and of varying sizes, and I've always tried to approach that from a kind of you know, trying to be understanding and listen and just, you know, be there for people, encouraging, you know, trying to live out the fruit of the spirit, really, I suppose, you know, trying to have patience, kindness, you know, self-control in what I do and say. That doesn't always work, but you know, I strive to do that. So yeah, and then I would say kind of you know, that inwardly, my faith has been really important to me through my work life. You know, work for everyone at times becomes really stressful and difficult, and there's challenges in the balance of that, and you know, whether it's praying for a safe journey on a flight home from somewhere, or you know, just fully reliant on God. You know, I've done a few positions. When I was the site manager, I was fully responsible for the site. There's about 400 people working there, and goodness, you know, that season I was just like fully dependent on God's strength and leaning on Him, and just, yeah, I guess the one thing I prayed for every day, and I continue to still pray for, and it's something that my mum sent me a text about on my first ever day when I became site manager, was when Solomon asked for wisdom. You know, he could ask for anything in the world, and he asked for wisdom, and so in everything I do, I try to just seek God's wisdom in my decisions and my actions. I don't always get it right. Probably don't listen well enough at times. But yeah, that's been, I think there's times where I look back on my career, and even times when I've been involved in situations with other people's situations, if you like, where if I wasn't a Christian, if I couldn't lean on God in that way, I think I would have found it really, really difficult, really tough. So yeah, it's always been
interesting.
Yeah.
So you've said that phrase a few times about leaning on God. What does that actually look like? How do you do that? What do you mean by that?
I think through my prayer life, through, you know, just you know, I start every day. It's just, you know, before I take the dog for a walk, no one else is up, and I'll just spend some time in prayer daily, and just you know, in those periods, just talk to God, listen to, you know, try and reflect on what's going to happen during that day, and seek His wisdom and guidance on that, and just the courage to do what is the right thing to do, or whatever it might be. And you know, 3 or so years ago, I committed to try and read the Bible every day, and just recently I got past my 1,000 day streak. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you know, in that period I've read the Bible in a year as well, each year. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it is just to complete the day. It's just like skim read, get through it. But you know what? There's so many times where, when I've needed something, when I've needed a word or a verse or something, there's been something that has just prompted from that, and you know, that's just been really powerful. And then just to be able to share with other people. I've had the fortune to have some really good mentors, and you know, at work I've had people who have really invested in me, and the fortunate thing is one of those people who really did for a number of years was a Christian himself. Right. And so that was just really, you know, there were times where it's been really difficult, and I've just been able to reach out to Mark, and he's just been able to pray for me, or just talk to me or whatever. And that's been I think the evidence of leaning into God.
I think you can't underestimate the value in that. I am at the best place in my life ever for having support around me, people that are really walking with me, people for whom they really invest in me, they pray for me, and they are my go-to people. I think those people are so worth seeking out, aren't they? And having people alongside Definitely. You, it's such a pillar of strength to me, just to know that I've got those people, and when it's a bit sticky in life, I can just go to them and just know that they've got me. They are praying, they're speaking good things into my life, they're reminding me of truth when I need to hear it. It's just such a powerful thing. I think God really uses other people, and Definitely. I'd recommend people to seek people out to walk with them.
I mean, I think one of my favourite parts of the Bible is in the New Testament and the letter to the Hebrews, and the writer talks about kind of people encouraging each other daily, and when you look into what that actually means, it's like, you know, the word for encouragement, I can't remember what it is, it's some Greek word, I think it begins with P or something, and it is just about living that through. It's not just about patting on the back and going, well done, keep going. It is that
Yeah.
what are you doing? You know, pull yourself
Yeah.
together. Come on. You know,
Yeah.
you can do this. You can. Why are you doing that? Why are you? You know, and it's that having that those people around you who will really invest in you can
Yeah.
just, and you can be that for someone else as well.
Yeah.
I think that is so
Definitely.
powerful.
Definitely. Yeah. So has faith always been a part of your life? Did you grow up in a faith-based family? You talked about your mum sending you a text. Is it something that's always been around for you?
Yeah, definitely. So I was brought up in a Christian family. My mum and dad were very active members. I was actually brought up in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So for the first sort of 14 years of my life, I guess I was. It would be unfair to say I was dragged along, but I attended church regularly. Mum and dad were heavily involved. They were kind of more on the more modern, charismatic
Okay.
end of the spectrum. My dad actually worked for the Catholic Church.
Okay.
That's why we went to Bristol for a period of time. And so, yeah, that was always kind of part of our life. I think my mum and dad, you know, they displayed and witnessed their faith quite strongly, you know, in together as they prayed together every morning and just would, again, lean on God. I mean, I think, you know, my mum and dad I wouldn't have said really had the most smoothest of lives in all honesty. You know, my dad suffered with quite significant depression at times
Okay.
and nervous breakdowns, and that was a tough period. Not being able to hold on to jobs because of that, and you know, despite having quite a successful early career,
Mm. Mm.
and I think, you know, I witnessed that even through that. I'm sure in the darkest times it was tough, but you know, my dad maintained his faith and
Mm.
reliance on God, and my mum especially was just just an incredible source of strength
Mm.
and would always be the key encourager. She's a real sort of kind of prayer warrior. She,
Mm.
you know, if someone turned up, even though we might not have had a massive amount of money or anything like that, they would get whatever we
Mm.
had. You know,
Mm.
they would always seemingly have enough dinner in the oven for whoever seemed to turn up.
Mm.
So I think they kind of really lived that out through
Brilliant.
difficult periods.
That's really interesting. You're sort of reminding me of some of the stuff that Steve talked about recently when he was talking about parenting and the importance of really sharing with your kids what it is you believe and how that impacts your life. And I think sometimes there's a tendency to make your faith quite private, but if we do that, we don't necessarily pass that on to our
No.
kids. Not that I mean, they've still got to own it for themselves, but if you're
Yeah.
hiding it away, they're not seeing it modeled necessarily, are they? It sounds like your parents did a great job of really modeling what it was to live out faith.
Yeah, I mean, my mum, I think she's every day in Lidl. So, and and even the ladies at the checkout go, "Oh, Diane, could you pray for that for me?" Because she's just that way,
Wow.
you know. She's just
Yeah.
so open about her faith, and I suppose so. But it became really boring. I have to be honest. It wasn't, you know, I wasn't walking around with a halo above my head as an angel as a child because I was so into God. It was absolutely boring, mind-numbingly boring in the
Wow.
Catholic Church for me as a young
Okay.
person.
Yeah.
That was just my experience. I didn't quite get it. I didn't
Right.
get the bells and smells. And although I was seeing my mum and dad living out this life of faith, I couldn't
Mm.
quite connect those dots as I've looked back on that. But and then I kind of stepped away from church. You know, mum and dad never really, you know, got to an age and they sort of said, "Look, we're not going to force you to do it."
Yeah.
And so, but then I met Claire, and Claire was brought up in the Salvation Army. Now,
Okay.
we talked about where I'm from. If I'm a local boy, I'm a little bit like you. My family aren't from round here,
Okay.
but Claire's family definitely are.
Right.
And they were part of the Salvation Army in Stowmarket, and I
Okay.
had a bunch of friends from school who were also part of the Salvation Army. So when I was about 16, 17 perhaps, I started going along there. To be
Okay.
honest, I went along because my mates were there and Claire was there.
Yeah.
And I kept going and went off to university. And when I'd come back from university, I'd go on a Sunday to see everybody. For me, it was probably more of a social thing. I've always believed in God and felt, you know, He's there. but it probably wasn't until I was about 23. I was 23, and I actually consciously sort of gave my life to Jesus, and just
Right.
sort of, there's one of my friends explained to it really clearly about what it was all really about. And yeah, that night I knew that my life needed to be different, and I wanted it to be different, and I wanted to seek more of that. And so since then, through the Salvation Army, we sort of developed and explored some stuff with our gifts and what have you, and had it was a really, really good time. And then about 7 years ago, a group of us who were at the Salvation Army, we just felt we needed something different. Claire and I were looking at that and thinking that we wanted the girls to have, although there was a really great kids and youth section in the Salvation Army, it was I'd say it was quite restricted perhaps in terms of what was going on there, and I think we wanted to just explore that a bit more. So we moved across to the Forge, and then never looked really back. So faith has always been through that, and like I say, through my parents especially, there's been that kind of demonstration of that. And
that's great. And so I know that you're heavily involved at the Forge now, and in fact you have a role as one of our elders. So if people are listening and they're not entirely sure what that means, do you want to explain what being an elder is?
Good
Asking
question.
for a friend, obviously. I know.
So I guess as an elder, we are an elder-led church. We have a team of people who, I guess, provide almost like a general oversight, and this is going to sound really grand and probably grander than what I mean, but it's kind of the spiritual authority of the church, and making sure that we're kind of aligned to our beliefs, and that we're living out our vision and mission as a church in the right way, and kind of operating within kind of these, I guess, spiritual guardrails to keep the church healthy and in line with what we believe is Jesus's vision for a church. We talk about spiritual health quite a lot. Is the teaching increasing the spiritual depth of the church, and kind of people's understanding of what it looks like to live out a life as a Christian. So it's kind of we help shape this kind of mission and vision, but we're really working with Steve Fennin, who's a senior leader, who is also part of the elders team, supporting him, but also and increasingly so recently, working with the staff team and ensuring that they have the right direction, if you like, the right support, and that we're moving in the right direction, I guess.
And so you meet together. I mean, is that a regular thing? How often would you guys be coming together to talk those things through? And
so we meet fortnightly, at the moment over Zoom, which has worked quite well. We used to meet together fortnightly. It is quite regular for that sort of thing, I guess. But I think we want to do that because we feel it's a really important thing to keep momentum, and you guys in the staff team are working on a daily basis, and often working at quite a pace to try and move things on, and if we only met like every few months, and then we miss an opportunity to understand what's going on, or we try not to be the sort of yes no people, but it's sort of just to be able to meet together. Steve would provide kind of an update of what's happened in the last couple of weeks, and we would pray into that and discuss some of those things. And
and I guess this, like for all of us, has been such an interesting time, because it's all different and everything's changing, and such a time of kind of transition and adapting. I think we've had to adapt very quickly and just embrace change, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think you said about being an elder-led church. I think one of the questions that people sometimes ask me, and it would often be off the back of experience of other churches, and I don't know what it would have been at the Salvation Army, but why is it, or how do you answer when people question, why is it we don't have like a membership of our church?
Yeah, that is a really, really good question. And as you said, I come from the Salvation Army where it's very membership led,
Okay, yeah.
There's a hierarchy of membership almost, there's different types of membership. For our church, I think if we look to our vision of helping people find and follow Jesus, and our mission of trying to be a church community that people love to be part of, we want to make that as easy and uncluttered as possible. And when people walk through, if we were meeting physically the doors of our church, or if they were joining in online, we want them to feel a belonging and connected immediately. And okay, whilst having a membership might not stop that feeling, it can create kind of a barrier and if you're on the other side of that, and a feeling of being an outsider as such, and so I think in the Forge we want to strive to be inclusive, and I think membership would indicate exclusivity, and I think I guess informally we do have membership because we see membership as engagement from people. We want people to be able to connect into the life of our church. We want them to sign up to 10-month groups or small groups. We want them to invite other people and have that freedom that they're inviting them to their church. We want people to serve. When we've been in our locations, we want people to be part of volunteering and being part of what we do on a Sunday and through the week. And we want people to give as part of their worship, and I suppose all of those things can combine into sort of an informality of membership, if you like, but we don't want to create that barrier and that boundary.
And I think for us as well, none of that means that people have got to be really, really sorted, does it? We want people to come with their messes and their muddles and feel like they belong, that it's their church and they're part of it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's nailed it, really. It is that kind of belonging. And, we don't want people to feel they've got to be good enough before they can be part of our church. You walk through the doors, you're part of our church.
Yeah, absolutely. I know another part of church is kids' church, and I know that's something that you're involved with as well, or tricky at this time, but certainly when we were meeting in locations, you were part of kids' church. What was your role there?
Yeah, so I've been part of the kids' leadership sort of at Thurston for 5 years or so. I started there when Sam Walker was kids worker, and I said I want to come and get involved in that. I was doing another role at the time, and it was. He smiled, and then about a month later, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm leaving." I'm leaving. So, I don't know. So for a year and a half or so, I sort of headed up some of the kids' work at Thurston, and then I headed up a team of people that were kind of creating some of the content for the kids. So that was a fairly intense period, but I loved it. It was really good. The kids were crazy. Someone once told me that my greatest gift is being an idiot. I took it as a compliment, but I think what they meant was I don't mind being silly, and so therefore kids work is perfect for me. So that was really, really good, and I've carried that through. I wasn't sort of heading up the kids work at Thurston for the last couple of years, but I've always been part of the team there, on the volunteer team that leads kids, and it's great. It's fulfilling. Don't get me wrong, there are some times where we come away on a Sunday and you nod to the person that you've been serving with and go, "It's a glass of wine night tonight." but No, it's great. It was really fulfilling. I miss seeing the kids, and
Yeah.
seeing their smiling faces and
Yeah,
hearing their funny stories.
it was great to have Sunday, wasn't it? For people that don't
It
know, we
was.
had a car treasure hunt for our kids and their families on Sunday, and that's what I kept hearing people just say. It's so great to see
Yeah.
people, and we'd got lots of leaders dotted around the course, and I think it was just a bit of connection for people. And Mike, you were on a station, weren't you, where they had to come and they had to take a picture of you and then send it across, and then they got awarded points. And so they were getting Mike to do various creative poses, which was, I was getting the photos, loved them. Obviously, I stored them all away somewhere safe.
Yes, I can imagine.
What was your favourite photo that got taken on Sunday?
Oh, there were several, I suppose. All of a sudden, a horse turned up, and so I was suddenly having a photo taken alongside a horse.
I gave bonus points for that. I thought,
Yeah,
you've got a
that
horse in the photo.
That was, yeah. I think she thought the rider thought we were crazy. But there you go. I think I had to pretend to be the troll out of the Billy Goat Scruff. I think I was under a bridge at some point.
Yeah, I liked
holding
that
a
one.
random dog.
Whose was the dog? How come you
It
were
was
holding
Jeremy
the dog?
Michelle Lings, so they brought Monty along, so I had Monty
Right.
with me.
Yeah.
My biggest regret, oh no, I rode a fence. So
Yes.
the Durrants asked me to ride the fence as if I was a jockey, which was interesting. I had got some very strange looks from the old lady across the road. My biggest regret though was when Becky Warnock and Dylan and Jude turned up was I said, "Your wish is my command," and the first words that came out of Dylan's voice was they'd do a handstand. And I'm 41 and I'm not as flexible as I used to be. And so there I was up against the wall of a church, chapel out in Kipping, trying to attempt to do a handstand, which I failed miserably. So yeah.
Well, they captured it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I think maybe you could have pointed your toes a little bit more.
Oh, you think? Yeah.
It was fairly impressive. And so I think on Sunday that did that thing of like, oh, it was lovely to be together, even if we were kind of like in cars and dotted around, but kind of coming together at the end was lovely. And I'm sure people are saying the same thing to you as they're saying to me quite often. We miss being together. I think people just miss that contact. Loving all the online stuff, really missing singing together, I think. Is that something that you resonate with? I do see your Instagram pictures, and your Sunday morning does look quite cool with your McDonald's, and often you have people around, don't you, as well?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really take much of the credit for some of that, as it is. Claire's great at that sort of hospitality and sort of inviting people along, and we are missing it. We are. We miss that interaction. We miss that, like you talked about. The singing and together there's something hugely fulfilling about that. It's and so we are missing that without a shadow of a doubt. But I think the staff team have done an incredible job at the creativity and everything that's been going on a Sunday, and then things like this through the week. So that's been great. One of the reasons actually we within the guidelines that have obviously changed recently, which has scuppered our plans a little bit, but we did start as a family, start inviting another family round, and that was as a reaction really of Claire and I talking about it, and Claire sort of showing it's great that we're doing church. We're still able to connect in, but something's missing. It's becoming a bit, it was becoming a bit of a struggle at times, and so off her own back, she sort of said, right, well, we're going to get some people around and we'll get some interaction and we'll do something different, and perhaps we'll have, when we haven't got people around, we'll do, we've had like this continental breakfast and kind of all different things, or we've gone to McDonald's and grabbed breakfast as to be a thing, and then do church. And I think we're just trying to find ways to do that. The reality is in the short term, and for however long, I don't know, we're not going to be able to meet together like we have been. And whilst that's really sad, we can either really feel sorry for ourselves or we can just try and embrace what what this is looking like, and I think that's what we've tried to do. And I think, as a church, I would encourage people to really, make a thing of it, make a, do fancy dress, do something, have a grand breakfast, or do something, it's, just because the doors are closed doesn't mean the church is. And I think that's, we are really blessed by, like I said, what the staff team have done online, and you guys, and what you're doing. And, it's a great opportunity to share that with other people through social media and all sorts. It's great to invite people to. It's, it's a bit easier, isn't it, than trying to drag someone across physically to somewhere where
I've never found it so easy. This has been the easiest in my entire life, to actually invite people just to share what we're doing and say, take a look at this. And as you will know, the excitement of having seen people become Christians and come back to faith, or just show an initial interest because of what we're seeing online, is so affirming for me. I just think it's wonderful. But like you, missing coming together. It's that old-fashioned word fellowship, really, isn't it? Just like being in the same space and doing it together. But with you guys, we're having exciting conversations about what we might look like when we come out the other side of this, and I think it's going to be even better. So I'm really excited. I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you, Mike. I know you're a really busy person. Just to finish, I do like a bit of reflection, Mike.
Oh, okay.
I
try not to look in the mirror.
Here's my last question for you. What advice would you give to your 15-year-old self?
Wow, that is a brilliant question. In fact, there's a book, I know the author, and she gets to the end of her book and she asks exactly the same. Well, it's 16-year-old. What would you say to your 16-year-old self? And wow, I don't know. I've always tried to approach life with a smile and a bit of laughter and lighten the mood. And I think I would always say to my 15-year-old self, just continue to do that. When you walk through the day with a smile on your face, I think it's just a bit easier. I think just don't hold back from telling the people around you how much you appreciate them, how much you love them. I like to think I do that, but I know that there are examples when I haven't, and I wished I had. And my dad passed away a number of years ago, and although I got the chance to say that, I wish I'd have said it a bit more regularly.
Sure.
I would believe in yourself, give it a go. Go with your gut a bit more firmly than what you might think you need to, and just go for it. Have confidence in yourself. But enjoy life.
Great advice. It's been really lovely to chat to you. We are really blessed to have you as one of our elders, very, very much so. I know we really value you and your input, and really, really great to talk to you and for people just to get a bit more of an insight into who you are. So thanks so much for your time.
No, thank you.
Have a good rest of your evening.
Yeah, and you, Helen.
See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.